biggest. It was even bigger bang than the end of the fireworks show. Yeah. So the moral of this story is basically don't play with fireworks.
Okay.
I realised that time was an issue, and time was running out for me, and the city was changing very quickly. Doing what I love doing, and I found a very happy place in my life where I can express what I do. In a way, I'm so lucky. In a way, I've been given a gift that I know is quite rare, and I'm very humble and appreciative of that. But it's only because I took a chance that I would ever imagine that this could happen. You know, once you've taken that jump, well, then you really need to go for it, and every single day you need to do more than you did the day before. Are you happy?
Yeah, very happy.
Okay, great.
Are you happy?
I'm always happy.
That's great. Okay, cool. Welcome to the 19th episode of In Full Effect. We have a special episode. At least it would have been special if you knew how we got here. But yeah, Richie, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I'm delighted. Honoured to welcome you to the studio.
Here we're at Studio Saigon. The Studio Saigon.
The Studio Saigon.
The Studio Saigon.
The only Studio Saigon.
The only. There we go. We met over 2 years ago, pre-COVID.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Because it was a private party. And you were back then, you were doing cocktails for that private party. I was taking the pictures. That's where we met first, and then sparked my interest in whatever you're doing. All the crazy stuff. We'll definitely dig more into that. Yeah, so good to be here. What do you do?
What do I do? I do what I want. So that's, yeah, and it's ended up like this. So I came to Saigon, Vietnam, over 10 years ago to open bars and restaurants. My degree is Egyptian archaeology.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's totally in use right now, every day, as you can tell. And from coming to Saigon on the invitation of some lovely ladies, I opened a bar and a restaurant a decade ago, more than, and trained a lot of bartenders in the city. So my profession is F&B, bartending. So I've been mentored to probably hundreds, if not thousands, of bartenders here in the country. From that point, I became influential in the bar scene over that span of years, and then operated a rooftop restaurant and was general manager for a long time. Changed the whole concept into something that people were accepting at that time in the market. And then all that went aside when I opened this, which is my studio, and put all my energy into this 100% over 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So then became 100% independent. I don't have a salary from a corporation or big entity. Mm-hmm. I generate all my own income from this, from my own bare hands. So basically, it's a big risk in Vietnam, and so I don't think that I don't recommend it. We can go into that later. But for an expat or for a foreigner to be here to do this is pretty difficult. Actually, and quite rare. So, but that is, I think, reflective of maybe the result that you see here. So, it's almost as if there's a shoot that comes up in the rice field. It's a little bit different from rice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As an analogy. Mm-hmm. But and then but you had the confidence to go alone as an artist away from bar. I have a room in there, which is my own personal bar. And we do private events, and we've had very, very many in here, and we've had some great times. And for that reason, that's my marketing, and this is my actual profession.
So, and this is drawing, obviously.
Yeah, it's pen and ink, black and white, as you can see, and all I draw is the city. So far I've drawn the city for 10 years, and there's a catalogue of images that will be put into a book and a future exhibition. which will be the following on from the megacity Ho Chi Minh exhibition on the walls of the British Embassy right now, or the Consulate General on Les Unes, Hamilam, Les Unes. The follow-on from that is the Deca City Ho Chi Minh project, which is basically my whole 10 years of work here since 2012 to 2022.
So a lot has changed over the 10 years.
It has, yeah. I've changed. The city's changed. I mean, everything about life is all about change. So, so that's one thing to get used to.
So obviously you fell in love with Ho Chi Minh.
Yes.
As I've been.
City.
Yeah. As the city indeed, Saigon. What makes it so attractive to you? Why did you decide to stick around?
One thing led to another. I think so. I was invited here naturally under the auspices of opening, the restaurant, whatever. And then you find out about how people are living, and you attracted to what's going on here. I mean, the actual history of the city already is enough for you to want to be here. So I always wanted to be in the Pearl of the Orient. We are in the Pearl of the Orient. So for me, it was kind of a dream come true. So on my afternoons off, I would go out and draw the city and sit on the streets and basically draw what I see. And I realized that time was an issue, and time was running out for me, and the city was changing very quickly. So I went from being immaculate, from as much as it could be, to go through a transformation change, which has happened in the last 10 years. And you can see the metro and Le Loi and what's happened there. I came here before that, nothing was touched. Nothing. It was all immaculate. So basically, snap to it and start drawing.
I've only been here 3 years, and I already saw so many changes.
Yeah, right.
In 3 years, of which most was COVID.
Yeah.
So that's great. So on a daily, you're drawing mostly now?
So I get here anytime between 7 a.m. if I'm on commission, to 10 if it's a Sunday. And I work 12 hours, and it's not working for me. It's actually, I'm making the living for my family and my son and my wife, and doing what I love doing. And I found a very happy place in my life where I can express what I do, and I can receive the revenue that needs to be paid for that. Yeah.
Was it always it must have been a difficult transition going from F&B into drawing and making that your full-time thing, right?
No, not easy. Not at all. It's very easy. So I have a book which is called Cocktail Art Saigon, which we can probably bring one out and show you. But so what I've done is essentially drawn all the streets and all the city main buildings in Ho Chi Minh, Saigon, and made a cocktail that represents that. So it was a very easy transition for me. It's always been in my blood to be an artist. So cocktail and F&B was probably maybe a route to that, and following my father's footsteps, in a way. He was a chef. He had his own bistro in the 60s. He's in the Good Food Guide in 1969, 70 in England, which is the equivalent of the Michelin Guide. I'm very proud of that. And his legacy was giving me that sensitivity to be able to understand history and art and put that into a culinary sense. But I couldn't cook, but I can cook. But
not as like he did.
Instead,
So he was a big influence in a lot of what you do?
Of course, of course. Him. So my father is a gunsmith, very precision engineer. So his business was a gunsmith. So he was very well known in the UK. So he imported black powder muzzle-loading weapons into the UK. So from that point, I had a very big influence early on in my life about how to respect, firearms, how to handle firearms, and how to deactivate firearms. It had quite a large collection at the time. We're talking the 70s here, so it's not now. Big change in the law, and the respect of that. So, and he taught me that, and from that point was of closest what I can do here to replicate that is to draw these kind of pictures, because everything is actually precision.
Yeah. So everything you've been doing within the FMB and your drawing, is that just something you're following a passion, or did you have goals for yourself that you wanted to achieve?
I think in life it's like this. It's during your teens, then you're free and easy, and during your 20s, then you have some sort of direction. I mean, my direction was Egyptian archaeology. So Egyptian archaeology took me to underwater archaeology. Underwater archaeology took me to underwater photography. Underwater photography took me to photography on land, and that paid the bills for a few years. Photography on land took me to traveling the world and taking photographs for magazines, right, and getting paid for it, thinking when I was 25, oh, this is amazing. You're in the Caribbean, you're paid to be a photographer, to take some pictures of say a marlin fishing tournament in Grand Cayman for Loaded magazine, for example. So I used to take pictures for Mixed Mag and DJ magazine as well. And at that time it was a heyday, so it's the middle of the 1990s. So all those pictures are back in the UK right now. I'm shipping them over here to make another book. But all that led to kind of an interest in being out and about in the world and seeing what's going on. I wish that the youth of today and then the next generation can feel that somehow, but they need to have some skills in hand. They need to know something about how to take a picture or what's useful, if they want that kind of life. I became a photographer on a cruise ship and sailed around the Caribbean and went across to Hawaii and back and down to Mexico and back for 2 years. So that was a huge influence on my life as well. There you drink a lot of tequila. There you drink a lot of cocktails. So that became another influence. So then I became interested in opening my own bar. So I helped to open a bar in Soho in London in 2000. After the millennium, and then from that point on, I moved across to Mayfair and crossed Regent Street to Mayfair in London, where it really happened. Where it's the head bartender in Hush in Mayfair, which is Roger Moore's second James Bond, Roger Moore's own bar. And so I worked for him for 6 years, on and off. At 6 years, after that, you get my life story now. But after that was then around the world. So bounced around Spain for a while. Went up to Scotland, working with Tony Singh, very very famous chef, on his rooftop restaurant called Oloroso. And from that point, I knew that I was in a situation I needed to go back down to London. So spent all my money on train fares going up and down from Edinburgh to London, and then ended up with another general manager position on a rooftop. Again, it's all rooftops, I don't know why. And then
You're looking for the views.
Something like that. I don't know. I always wanted to be up high, and then got a call from Hong Kong from my old general manager from Hush. Said, "Do you want to come over here and run a nightclub?" I said, "Okay, gone." And that was 12 years ago. So that's why I'm here in Asia. So I've been here in Asia 12 years, Hong Kong 1 year. Moved from Hong Kong in its heyday. It's completely trash now, but but in its heyday it was kicking, and we ran a very successful nightclub, and it employed a few quite famous DJs at the time, and then was invited to come to Saigon and open a restaurant and a cocktail bar, and that's where the story unfolded here. So maybe you should cut at one point.
No, it makes sense, because obviously all these things come together to where you are right now. Like obviously you first started with a lot of creative stuff.
Right.
That word.
Archaeological.
Yeah, and then into photography.
Yeah.
What makes you creative? Then into F&B scene.
I'd say the first was my formative years when I was between 3 and 10. Was living in Suffolk in a little village called Laxfield, and it's probably made the strongest impression on me because it was obviously my very tender years, 7 years of such a great childhood that my father gave me, and we had the gun shop at the top of the lane, and at the bottom of the lane was a gentleman who's dead now. And he's passed away, as his wife as well, called Ron Fuller. And he made mechanical wooden toys. And he had airplanes, which were radio controlled, and he had kites. So can you imagine what a childhood I had? It's amazing. It was amazing. Honestly, it was off the charts. So in terms of creativity, that's where, between my father, precision engineering, and guns, and Ron Fuller, at the bottom of the lane. He was the village toy maker, and what a childhood! If I could take my son there and my wife there and live there now, I'd do it all over again, without a doubt, within a second. But those houses now are over $1 million.
Yeah, that's great. So, what are your actual goals right now? Do you like what you do right now? Is there a vision? Is there a path you're trying to follow to achieve something?
Yeah, I just need to clear the 3-month backlog of orders.
Yeah,
that's my short-term goal. The long-term goal is where the target's set. So it's what I've established here and what I've achieved here. Saigon is a village. We know that. There are limitations here. I've drawn the city beyond. The commissions are good. Do have some lucrative commercial commissions that keep us going. The main goal is to do what I do here, but in Singapore, and then go to London, and then go to New York. So essentially, what I can do here, I can do in any city.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I can do the studio Saigon, I can do the studio New York, I can do the studio London, I can do the studio Singapore. Same concept, so we have art, draw the city, we have cocktails that represent the city. That's it.
Yeah, but this means that you'll be spending your time exchanging for what you do, right? At all times. Or is there would there be a bigger business concept around it, or would it always be involving you being there?
You have to. No. So the initial, I can say, the first brushstrokes of any concept have to be from the creator.
Mm-hmm.
So the initial step for any of those is to basically be there in person and to imprint and to draw and then to set it up and move on. Roll out. But we're talking maybe 10 years in the future. So you're talking about 10 years before. This is the seedling. Say from small acorns do giant oak trees grow.
Yeah.
So that's.
But you do enjoy spending your time for the art and just draw, or would it be a bigger concept around, like, what would happen to this studio when you move to Singapore, for example?
It will still be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But would they still get commissions from?
Of course, yeah. And then the thing is that once you draw a picture, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be there to explain the picture. It explains itself.
Yeah.
So it's as if the pen that you put on the paper is your voice. It's like writing a poem.
Okay.
It's like writing an essay.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, these are my essays. These are my poems. So you come here, you look at my poem, and I don't need to be here to tell you about that. You can understand it for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I do understand that. Yeah. Cool. So, what does success mean to you in the whole grand scheme of things?
Success means I can support my family with this and with the love of doing what I love doing, and I going to say, in a way, I'm so lucky. In a way, I've been given a gift that I know is quite rare, and I'm very humble and appreciative of that. But it's only because I took a chance that I would ever imagine that this could happen. So, I'm a risk taker. I am a big risk taker.
Would you ever not have taken that risk?
No, it was always going to happen. So I'd say that it was inevitable that this was going to happen. And then it's like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Yeah.
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So we're into a interesting phase of that snowball.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. So basically the main question then about the podcast, because initially I wanted to call the podcast the Full Potential Podcast, but I went with In Full Effect eventually. The question to you is what is full potential to you, and what does it mean to you? And would that have been different 10 years ago to now?
I think you don't know about your potential until you live your life. I don't think that you understand about any potential until you understand about the consequences of going through at least 20 years of life, and I'm talking from 20 years old. So what I'm saying is that to follow your life's course is to do anything and everything in your 20s, and then to follow some sort of path in your 30s. And then to understand that even though you're doing anything and everything in your 30s, but following a path, you still don't know in your 40s exactly what you're doing. So my father always used to say to me, so what do you want to do when you're older? I have no idea, but I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to be this, I want to be that. So I went from being an international angler, I want to be a fisherman, to I want to be an international athlete, running, sprinting. I was pretty good at that at the time. And then I had no idea that in my 40s, my late 40s, I would even be picking up a pen and drawing.
Yeah.
You understand? So life is a very, meandering course, and it's snakes and ladders all the way through. But when you say about potential, okay, so once you get to a point where you've got a platform, it's very hard work to get to that platform, which is basically establishing something about you as a core person, and you're expressing yourself in a personality or your job. You could be a maths teacher, you could be a quantum physics, lecturer, or you understand about maybe humanity in some way. I'm not saying art in any sense, but I became an artist. I grew up from that background. So my potential, I'm realizing that now, only in my late 40s, and even haven't achieved any of the major goals that I really, really want to achieve yet. But yet, the most important thing is to see an opportunity where you can express yourself and maybe break away from the monotony of the 9 to 5 or the working for somebody else, and then take that risk, and then believe in yourself and have other people to support you and follow you, including your family. Of course, you have to have that. And then once you've taken that jump, well, then you really need to go for it, and every single day you need to do more than you did the day before. So my point is, follow your dreams, but think about with your head first, and your heart will definitely fulfill all your life's wishes. But you have to be clever about that strategic jump, about when you do it and what you do it in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was pretty clear for me when I needed to do that here, and I reached the top of my game in everything with F&B. Left at the top. Sri was running really well, really popular, and making a lot of money. And then, bye guys, see you later. I'm doing my own thing.
Nice.
That's it. And then to have that confidence, you need to have the balls, and I mean, I had a family at the time, a small family coming up, so it's a big risk. Like I told you before, I'm a risk taker. But if you don't have that consciousness and that whole faith in yourself, then how can you ever reach what you want to do? And we're on the way now. We're on the way, and It's paid off. I would say paid off. It's paying off.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
And
consistency is the key.
Yeah,
You have to be consistent.
That's a good one.
See?
Were you always able to trust yourself in what you were doing next, or did you have support in that as well?
Of course, no. Support, no. Trust, yes, in me, yeah, of course. But that was from my foundation, from my mentors, my father, Ron Fuller, early on, watching and learning, and learning on the job. So in F&B it was Chris Potts. So Chris Potts, you wouldn't even know his name, but he opened the 5th floor Harvey Nichols in Knightsbridge in London. Major guy. So he was the general manager in Hush in Mayfair. So he was trusted by Jeffrey Moore, Roger Moore's son. This guy's amazing, and all about how to run a business on the inside in F&B. It's not about the front; it's about the back. And knowing about the back as well as the front, the whole thing. So it's complicated. But yeah, I'm happy I achieved all that, made all those points, and now I'm fulfilling my own goals and actually commissioned by people that tell me about the drawings that they want me to draw for them, and giving me their wishes in their life about how to make an image that they will see for the rest of their lives. That's pretty big.
Yeah,
that's pretty big. I mean, I'm drawing pictures for people in their bedrooms these days. I'm sorry, but that's very personal. I wake up every morning with a picture for me. I mean, that's crazy. I make hotels. Do you know what I mean? So in a way, it's a big transition. But yeah, very smooth and easy one for me. Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's about people. It's about people.
And you mentioned a few people already, like your dad and the people around your childhood and certain chefs. But who have been like other major influences in the whole story of your life?
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, she took away the milk when I was very small. I'm not political. In terms of influences of people, I'd say even the philosophers, Plato. I listen to the fall of ancient civilizations on YouTube when I'm drawing. Because I come from an archaeological background, and those stories about the ancient Sumerians or the Assyrians and where we came from in terms of ancient civilizations, and before that as well. Not going into anything off the record. Ancient aliens, for example. That's all in the ether somewhere around here. But talking about what's actually on the ground, and it's interesting to listen to the reason why those civilizations did fall and how many have fallen. And I think I'm pretty philosophical in that sense, that I know that we're in a cycle. I know that the world's in a cycle. I know that we're right in the cycle right now, and we've already gone through that quite a few 100 times previously. So there's no big deal about this is it. We've reached the peak. Yeah, we're reaching a peak, and it's going to stop and start again, probably. So do you know what I mean? So,
it's very interesting because I love history, ancient history, and all that. I watch a lot of that as well. So I think we can have a whole different conversation about that.
For sure.
But a little bit following on that, maybe not on the podcast, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
You say cycles, but do you think the cycles go quicker and quicker?
In what sense?
Like back in the day, let's say Roman times, that was a huge cycle as well. And within that was like a few cycles. But then now the cycles repeat quicker. I see what you mean, yeah. Well,
of course. I mean, with the the advance of technology, of course they do. It's all information, and it's all the fact that we're super connected now. So we are reaching that point of hyper connection. We've reached it already. This podcast is going to go out, and even 20 years ago, this would not happen. It would not happen.
Yeah.
10 years ago, this probably would happen, but only really for Joe Rogan. Very rarely. And then previous to this, it would be sending a carrier pigeon. But people were too involved in global politics and invading each other and Well, they are now, but we know about it within a second.
Yeah.
Because before, the reason why, certain civilizations were actually very successful in their conquest was because news couldn't travel fast enough. It was a 3-day ride between this point and this point.
Next question. We were talking about people that influence you.
So a lady called Lucy Blue. So with without any beating around the bush, when I was doing my degree in UCL in London at the time, I wanted to get underwater, right? And this lady, she's the female equivalent of Indiana Jones, blonde hair, lovely, and she was super connected with the Mediterranean in terms of diving on archaeological wrecks. And so she basically created the opportunity for me to go to dive on the third oldest wreck in the world, and that's called the Iria wreck in Tolo in the Peloponnese. And this was something of a dream, and basically I was living the dream in a National Geographic sense. We had National Geographic come to the site, film us, put heart monitors on us. We're diving 30 meters down to the wreck site. We're coming up very slowly, spending 6 minutes on oxygen on the decompression bar, and we were getting pulled through the moon pool with our gear off. Did that for 2 months, and that was the main body of my dissertation for my degree. So on the basis of that, all those experiences went into my dissertation called Mesopotamian Trade Routes of the Third Millennium BC. So she was a huge influence on me in terms of getting me into the Mediterranean. And I've had a very, very lucky life in terms of fulfilling all my dreams.
You call it lucky, or you worked your ass off to get in those positions at the right time?
I think I was in the right time, at the right place, with the right people. I did work my arse off, and continue to do that now, but in my own time and on my own terms. And all those experiences are inside me. And that's the thing, is that I spent all my money on going around the world and traveling, and nothing on material goods. I don't have a house we have a family house in the UK. Didn't have a car. I crashed my father's car. Didn't buy a motorbike, whatever. Didn't have all those material goods. But what I did do was spend all my money, save all my money, and travel. So I was a lifeguard. I worked in a clothes shop. To save every month. I was 18, 19. I had 4 jobs. And then went to university, saved all that money, and then traveled as much as possible.
Yeah.
And because once those memories are inside you and those experiences are inside you, nobody can take them away from you.
Exactly. I've been doing the same thing well.
As much as possible, because that's the bank.
Yeah.
You're the bank. You're your own bank.
Yeah, you collect experience.
Actually, I think in your questions you say, well, how did you try to improve yourself or self-improvement like that? Exactly like that.
Yeah.
That's
the question later is like, what would be a tip for people to get better at personal development, or tools or tips?
Yeah. I mean, don't think about tomorrow. Just think about where you are right now. I mean, there's the whole thing about making a mistake, about wishing you were somewhere that you're not now. So click your fingers. Where do you think you'd like to be? Probably you'd be thinking the same thing when you went to that place. You'd be, I wish I was somewhere else. So the point is to look at where you are right now, and to look at what you've got around you and make the most of that. And once you can do that, then you're probably ready to travel. Do you know what I mean? So,
it's also not easy to just go and travel. I remember
not now. Probably not now.
Oh, but not practically,
right.
But in mentally and
I don't know, mate. I mean, can I call you mate? Yeah.
Because I remember when I was 18, 19,
right.
I came out of high school. I really wanted to travel the world, but I felt I wasn't ready for it yet.
Mate, yeah, well,
I mean,
I left home at 14, so I'm kind of maybe a different kind of culture, but not different culture, but different opportunity. So I left home at 14, went to the south of England by myself, worked as a waiter in a bed and breakfast hotel. Lasted 2 weeks, and saved all my money and tried to stay down in Cornwall. It was as long as possible. And I think it was about a month away, but I'd spent that time away, and then came back on a bus and went back home. So, but it was definitely. I mean, my parents. The thing is, the parents are very important, and it's the freedom that the parents give the child that forms the child, like in later life. And my parents gave me 100% freedom. I blew myself up at 5 years old.
That's a lot of
because he was a gunsmith. My father. So he let me have access to. We didn't let me have access to the black powder store, but. We've got a few stories going on, but yeah.
So besides people that had a great influence on you throughout your life, what were events in your life that shaped the way you are? I mean, obviously you've been through a lot of experiences, so let's narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm 50, so I'm not looking back in my life. I mean, I'm kind of semi-midway. Don't think I'm going to make 100, but let's just say that looking at your formative years, let's say that happened up in so your childhood, from 3, if you like, until 10 events in that period. Hopefully not too traumatic. For me, the most traumatic one, which I remember, would be Christmas Day, which is pretty traumatic. My father throwing all the plates for the dessert into the fire. Pretty traumatic. My older sister walks us out into the countryside for a walk, come back, and then my mother and father are having a cigarette together and having fun. Always remember that, but that's kind of formative years. I think what really counts is how you deal with trust later in life. So that pretty much most people are going to betray you in some way. It's how you deal with that, all right? So later in life, from childhood my childhood ended at 11, 12, I think maybe earlier for a lot of people, but that's the limit. So I had a very blessed childhood, and from 16 until 20, that was working, so innocent and just working hard, and then from 21 to 30, that's a very good period where the first half of that was still in university, a lot of exposure of life, but how it goes where you really get tested in your 30s about people want to, can I say the word F-U-C-K? They want to F-U-C-K you as much as possible in terms of your talent, in terms of your energy, in terms of your ability, in terms of your potential for them. Right? So it means that you have to be very cautious that you're not used by them. And I fell into a trap where I wouldn't say trusted people, you see, and it was a case of older people are looking to prey upon younger people in a professional sense, in my life anyway, and try to get away with it. But they're the ones that actually don't succeed. They've lost already because they haven't got what you've got. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know where particularly. The question, the point is, again, hospitality in England, second or third oldest coaching in the country, and it was run by a bunch of dodgy people, but I didn't know they were dodgy because I was still, I knew there was kind of something going on, but didn't know how dodgy they were, which means they were really dodgy, and but they fired me. And luckily they fired me because it all ended really badly for them. So what I'm saying is trust is about the expectation that somebody's going to do the dirty on you. They probably will do, but it's how you deal with that, you know. So I bounced back and did my own thing again, and that was that. You know, so.
Okay, but is that something you have to learn, or because it's not like a gut feeling or anything? Huh?
You don't know unless you let that. Okay, so most people, let's just say that in their lives they're gonna follow their education. They've done a maths degree. They're gonna become an accountant. They're gonna be very secure, or unless they work for a dodgy firm, and they will probably do their 9 to 5 and then live their life. I haven't done a 9 to 5. I have, but haven't, and it was very early on, and so I chose another route. So I chose the independent route. I didn't choose the secure safety route. I chose the insecure, independently financed, creative route. You know, so I wouldn't recommend people follow what I've done. If you feel confident, then obviously you're going to find that feeling inside your life, and you're going to do that at the right time. But I think that you can't train people. You can't, educate people for how to avoid the dodginess of the world. Unless you're in the situation, you use your instinct. So you have to use that instinct, and when you're in that situation, then you'll know that something's wrong. So you've had that childhood experience already, do you know what I mean? Which will give you that trigger for when you're in that 30 to 40 zone, I would say, or even earlier, depends.
Yeah, I've definitely been through similar experiences already, yeah.
I mean, you're not 30 yet, so...
No, but like...
But you've already... Yeah, right. Yeah.
What does time mean to you?
Time means everything. Time means that it's running out. Time is an hourglass. Time for me is... I can't get up early enough in the morning to work and also work or to do what I do. I know for me that I realise now that when there becomes a critical point where there's a critical mass in your life, in your creative life, for me personally anyway, where I knew that if I don't, how can I say, I'm wasting time if I'm not in my studio and I'm not drawing, I'm wasting time. Right, like that. So, and I feel I'm robbing, other people from the benefit that I can give them by doing what I do now. Understand? So, in terms of that way, I've been selfish when I've wasted time. Time is limited, and time is running out for everyone. And I've had a few recent experiences where I know that we are mortal, and we're on the planet for a finite time, and it's not infinite. And although you have to use your time wisely, and how to say, help to change other people's lives in a positive way, and to leave a legacy in some way in your time that you've been given.
Is this your legacy?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Also for your children, or how would you?
My child.
Yeah.
Up to him how he looks at that. But I would say that it's more. This is a legacy for here, but my general legacy going on from here is not accomplished yet. I still have a legacy to fulfill, which is more expansive. Yeah, I'm not done yet.
It's good. I like that. What is the best advice, or the one advice that you still remember that you received from someone that blew your mind or that changed you?
Don't eat yellow snow.
That's very helpful, yeah.
Yeah. So, joke number one. So,
Scripted.
Yeah. So, I'd say, don't don't follow anybody, don't copy anybody. Try to be original as much as possible. With going back to Ron Fuller, I used to watch him all the time, how to make things and make toys, and he was always very, 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 great with his hands. And he always used to say to me is, make sure you can make something with your hands, because people will always buy it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've done.
Yeah.
So very simple one. And again, between him and I keep going back to that. It's between him and my father. So my father would be, very clever with his hands. Mm-hmm. So, and then now I see my son, he's 2.5 years old, very delicate with his hands, very precise. So in a way, maybe I'm very...
A watchmaker maybe in the making.
I mean, I'm talking about watches, I used to love watching the watchmakers, but their eyes they're gone by their 40 because they're looking at everything very small. But precision engineering runs in the family and runs in the metaverse.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So you were saying like don't follow someone, don't copy someone. It's like, do you ever compare yourself with other people?
No, not now. Maybe before a little bit. In terms of comparing and comparison to say, how can I judge my level or success, whatever? No, not at all. I've always found that if you do that, it always leads to you looking inwardly and not achieving your greatest potential. What you talk about potential earlier. Mm-hmm. So I never compare myself with anybody else. The point is that I compare myself with some of the greats like Leonardo da Vinci. Mm. You have to at that point. And I'm 49 years old, so Leonardo da Vinci was 49 years old when he drew or painted the Last Supper. So in a way I'm doing similar I'm going to say scapes, and very long panoramics where he did the same thing. He was challenged by his people that commissioned him, and in a way, I'm not saying that I'm replicating Leonardo da Vinci, but in a way, if you want to ask me that direct question, do I compare myself with anybody? I'd only say that I do compare myself, or mirror myself with him. Mm. But not anybody in this world now.
So you don't compare yourself with other people, but do you ever?
No. Not anyone that's alive now. No.
Okay. Do you learn from other people in that way? Like you say, like maybe other artists, like, they do it that way. Something I can learn from.
How not to do it? You mean, or
could be anything, not or what? Yeah.
Yeah, the classic artists. So you have Dali, Matisse. You're going back in time. So Rembrandt. Going back even more. So Da Vinci, obviously, and Michelangelo. Going back into the Renaissance. So I'd say that I'm a Renaissance artist. In the sense that I have the freedom of mind. I have my archaeological background. I have my anthropological background. Polymath background, something like that. And I believe that definitely in my life, all I'm doing is going through the motions and to replicate possibly what they've done 500 years before me. Mm-hmm. And I'm gifted to be able to actually do that. I'm very grateful. Mm-hmm. Whoever gave me that talent.
Nice, yeah. And if you would have to give someone advice, the one piece of advice, what would it be?
Right. Go back to that question. So that's a big thing. Follow your heart. Listen to your mind.
Trust yourself.
And your ass will follow. No, I'd say in all seriousness, just do what you want to do. But you need to have some sort of grounding where you have a skill.
Yeah.
And you have a I wouldn't say talent, but
foundation.
Find your grounding. What makes you happy. Don't make other people happy for your misery. That's another thing very important. So just do what you do what you love, and don't really care about whether other people love it or not. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. So I'm lucky that what I do, I love what I do, and apparently some other people love it as well.
Luckily, yeah. So you already mentioned that if you a tool or a tip to improve yourself would be to seek experiences. Yeah,
definitely. I'd say, all my money, all my life has always gone on the experience of traveling, always gone on the experience of experiencing as much as possible, from the ocean, scuba diving, to living on land and a little bit in the sky. But the point is to be open-minded and to have your future potential given the best chance.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because of that, and that's it. You have to be open-minded to culture, to religion, to how can I say, to other people's opinions and other people's points of view, and be welcoming to that. And after a few years, you'll probably form your own opinion. But in the first few years, in the first 20, 30 years, I didn't have an opinion. I didn't feel qualified to have an opinion. They asked me, what do you think about that? I don't know. What are you talking about? But then now I have a very strong opinion because I know what's going on in the world. And we're all children of the universe, so we have to experience, in our conscious mind what's going on. But then our unconscious mind as well has a big influence on that. And your parents and the people in your formative years are the guardians of your future years. I can say.
Nice. What's your favorite quote?
Quote? To be or not to be, that's it. Favorite quote directly is now you caught me off guard. Yeah.
It wasn't in the list though.
I know. I'm not following the list. The favorite quote is hang on. Yeah, I'll come up with a favorite quote in a minute, but not right now. Sorry about that.
Well, we're actually at the end. Honestly, this was really good. I really loved talking to you, and I think we can keep talking. We're gonna do a studio tour as well, if you're still up for it. But yeah, thank you so much. Besides this, where can the people follow you? Where can people find your work?
They can follow me from my house down the road to here, no problem.
Sure, address?
If they want to do it. And then back again, that's fine. I have Richie _Fawcett Instagram, all right? And I'll give you all the links.
Yeah, 100%. I'll put it down below. And I think even Facebook. This has been in the shot all day, so...
Okay.
The studio Saigon. This is where all the magic happens. Or the magic happened a few years ago, I guess.
Yeah. My favourite quote, by the way, is like this. It's from a film. It's called Where Eagles Dare. And it's by Richard Burton. And he says, broadsword calling Danny boy, broadsword calling Danny boy, over. Broadsword calling Danny boy, broadsword calling Danny boy, over. Broadsword calling Danny boy, broadsword calling Danny boy, over. So you see, so that's my favourite quote, because what they're in the middle of nowhere, right? And they're calling back to HQ, right? And they haven't got any answer. You see what I'm saying? So that's my favourite quote. Broad sword, Conley, Danny boy. Over.
Okay.
It won't mean anything to you, but if you watch the film Where Eagles Dare with Richard Burton, you'll get the idea.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was great. And again, thank you everybody for watching. If you make it all the way to the end, that's great. The support has been great so far. And this will be a juicy one. This was a juicy one if you're all the way here.
Really? Okay.
I forgot. I think so.
Time for a banana or an apple or a grapefruit or a pear.
We can, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cut. See ya.